And so if you guys are unaware, Lords of the Fallen has just released their 2.0 update. All right. And their 2.0 update is supposed to add some insane features like seamless co-op, for example, where you can complete the game from start to finish with a co-op partner. They also added save progression for co-op. So even if you're playing co-op with another player, you keep the same exact gear. You get all the gear drops, seamless progression, everything. So I figured let's check this out because I'm a big Souls fan, obviously. I've played Lords of the Fallen. I played the first one. I've played this one. And this is a very interesting video. It's a 20-some-odd minute video showcasing the developers. And to be honest with you, the developers look really weird. I don't know if you guys have seen the developers working on this game, but this trailer is going to make you scratch your head a little bit. So let's go over this. Let's check it out. Let's see what's going on here and see if these updates are worth it. If you have never played Lords of the Fallen, or maybe if you did, is it worth it for you to come back? Let's check it out.
I'm Ryan Hill, Global Brand and Marketing Director.
Holy
shit.
My man is hardcore. My man is hardcore, bro. What the fuck?
Here at CI Games. Led all things brand on the last Lords of the Fallen. We'll be doing so again on the upcoming Lords of the Fallen. Been in the video games industry since 2017 and actually worked in fashion before that. Hoping to inject some of the things I learned in fashion into our upcoming Souls-like.
This guy worked in fashion before he got into the gaming industry. How the fuck do you go from fashion to the gaming industry? Like, how the fuck does that even compute? That is wild to me. And then somehow he became global marketing director for Lords of the Fallen with a fashion background. How does that even happen?
And ensure we continue to have...
Can I turn up the clip volume? It's at maximum. This video must be low, but it's at maximum. There's not much I could do. I got max audio everywhere.
Have some of the best looking drip in the genre.
I am David Valjallo. I'm the creative portfolio.
What the fuck, bro? Yeah. Did they just recruit their entire team from, like, I don't know, an oyster bar or something? Like, what is happening? You got a biker gang running this entire show? Listen, as long as they do a good job, I don't give a fuck. But I'm just saying, man, this is pretty hardcore. This is pretty hardcore.
You're a strategist on a development team at CI Games. I look after the Lords of the Fallen franchise and try to make sure that we deliver on the promise that we make to our fans. I've been in games for 20 plus years now. I've been in a variety of roles: QA, marketing, consulting, creative direction. I've worked on everything from Call of Duty through to Sonic the Hedgehog, and every time I work on a different project, I get a tattoo. So as you can see, I've worked on a lot of titles. I haven't yet got a Lords of the Fallen tattoo, yet, but I will.
You know what's crazy, man? I understand that throughout life, people will always do something to try to stand out and be different. I get it. But it has become so ridiculous now to the point where I just want to see normal people, man. I just want to see normal people, man. Just give me a blonde. Give me like a regular blonde with no tats, jeans, and like a regular t-shirt at this point. Like, everybody's got to be so fucking different that they gotta have nose rings and all kinds of shit. Just give me someone just regular. And it's so sad that regular is the new different now. You know?
As a players first studio, we really want to lift the...
Like, how are these the people? Again, I don't have any issues. They seem like cool people. I'm sure they're a lot of fun to hang out with. Just don't go to the oyster bar with them because it's not going to end up well for your booty hole. But my thing is, like, while they may be cool people, how are these the ones that are in charge of your marketing, your community management? Like, whatever happened to just normal people being the face of your, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. But then again, these guys are older than me, so what the fuck?
The veil on video game development. We want to offer our community a full access backstage pass to everything that goes into making one of these games, from initial concept. And
see, I get this. I totally get this, right? I totally get this comment, Force, 100%, and I respect it. But see, here's the problem, right? So Vorse says, I don't care what someone looks like. If you work in the game industry, just make good games and don't push politics on me. Totally get it. But I can't agree with that. Because my thing is like, you still should maintain a level of professionalism. There should be a level of professional presentation that is happening when you are showcasing a product. You don't see fucking Nintendo suited up executives. You don't see them rocking fucking dreads and fucking nose rings and earlobes, tattoos everywhere. Like, no, they put their most professional face forward. You know what I mean? It's like, we need to maintain a level of professionalism when we are dealing with the public. And I just feel like, unless you are in a certain, there are certain professions where this is, I guess, okay. Like if you watch, I guess, I don't know, if you like work at Hot Topic or something, you know what I mean? Like, sure, maybe. But I don't know. I just feel like there should be a level of professionalism. Here we go. We got a good one. Bro, are you seriously pearl clutching over some tattoos and earrings? It's video games. It's supposed to be hardcore. Stop this. So it's pearl clutching to ask for a level of professionalism? That's pearl clutching? Let me guess. You got tattoos? Are you personally offended by this? Can you not remove your feelings from this and just realize, like, there should be a level of professionalism when dealing with the public when you're doing things like this? You know what I mean? But, hey, maybe it's pearl clutching. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, let's continue.
Ideation through to actual game development and even how we brand and market this video game series.
Lifting the Veil is all about bringing you behind the scenes on what it's like and what it takes to make a Souls-like, because they are difficult games to play and fucking incredibly difficult games to make. It all really starts with that question.
Kitty Girl says, times have changed. I know surgeons and lawyers with tattoos. Yeah? So do you know lawyers that go to the courtroom dressed with a leather vest on, showing all of their tattoos? Do you know of lawyers that go to the courtroom and they have leather pants on, leather vest on, tattoos showing everywhere, jewelry everywhere? No, of course you don't. Right? Like, I'm not saying you can't have these things. See, people are misunderstanding the message, and so maybe I got to say it again. This is a weird hill to die on, Hypno. I'm not dying on any hill. I'm just, my God, bro. People are, I can clearly see who has tattoos and stuff in the chat and who doesn't. Because, bro, people are like, I'm saying, hey, just be presentable. And people are like, what do you mean I can't have a tattoo? I didn't say that. I didn't say you can't have a tattoo. I didn't say you can't have, like, certain things. Like, I didn't say that. I'm just saying, like, be presentable. You know what I mean? That's all I'm fucking saying. Just be presentable. That's all. Like, what the fuck? People just get, like, your booty holes are tight. You know? I'm just telling you, man. People, listen, first, the way you look is 100% a big deal in the corporate space. That's all I'm saying. But you, of course you could have tattoos. Of course you can have all whatever the fuck you want. Just be professional. That's all. God damn, bro. People, it's tight.
What even is a Souls-like? And we want to answer that in collaboration with you, the community.
You can expect sneak peeks, exclusive reveals, and complete transparency. So the original Laws of the Fallen came out in 2014 and was actually arguably the first game to try and pay homage to this new genre From Software had created. And that's a really difficult thing to do. We were the first people to create a game in this genre that until now only From Software had done. So there was a really fine line to walk between respecting those pre-established rules that actually make a game a Souls-like and actually trying to do something new and interesting at the same time. Ultimately, whilst the game did inject some really cool ideas, it veered too close to that original.
You gotta love that jingle, because that's professional. You might as well just be chewing gum at this point. Just like, because I'm sure you guys want to hear that all the time. You know?
From software formula, and actually ended up coining the expression Souls-like.
As an outside observer, I kind of became aware of Lords of the Fallen back in 2013 with the original. I wasn't sure what to make of it, honestly. I think Souls-likes were a new thing. I really became aware of the series with the 2023 title. I remember seeing the cover of Edge magazine, and you had this Dark Crusader monster of a man who looked like he was on his way back from an Iron Maiden album cover photo shoot, and I was like, okay, now you've got my attention.
This was one of the reasons for such a large gap in the franchise. Almost 10 years, in fact. Lords of the Fallen.
I lost one sub so far. I was just curious. I was like, let me check, because I know people tend to get fairly emotional. I was like, let me just, out of curiosity. It might not have been from this stream, but I just think that's funny. The correlation is pretty funny.
In 2023, had to push the boundaries of the genre into a place that it hadn't been before. As you might recall, Lords of the Fallen 2023 actually started life off as Lords of the Fallen 2. But as we continued to develop the title, it became increasingly clear that this...
By the way, so who in this chat has played the original Lords of the Fallen? Who has played the original Lords of the Fallen in this chat right now? Out of curiosity. I'm not talking about this one. See, the problem is that people get confused because there's two Lords of the Fallens, and they have the same exact name. So people get confused all the fucking time over it. So I actually thoroughly enjoyed the first Lords of the Fallen. I thought it was really good. It was short, but it was good. And the combat was pretty basic, but it was still pretty good. I actually enjoyed the first Lords of the Fallen more than the second Lords of the Fallen. I know that's going to be crazy to a lot of people, but I just did, because the second Lords of the Fallen, I just couldn't vibe with it. And I don't know why. Like, I was playing through it. I really didn't like the lantern mechanic, like the double world kind of mechanic. And I don't know. I felt like they overcomplicated what should have just been a simple, straightforward, you want to call it a remake or whatever, a redo of the original. But the new Lords of the Fallen, the gameplay is good, but there are certain mechanics that I just couldn't vibe with. And that lantern mechanic is really, like, I'm not a huge fan of it. What is this? What is this? Hypnos Canta Hypnos Canta Crabito. Bro, with a 2 saying hola. Wow. Wow. That is great. Shout out to you.
This wasn't a sequel to the 2014 debut title. Whilst it might be odd to reboot a franchise after just one entry, we knew we had something new and exciting on our hands. This was going to be a completely new chapter for Lords of the Fallen.
It's always been about more than just copying the best. We've wanted to add our own flavor, and that really starts with identifying our USPs. What are the things we can add to this type of game that elevate it, that make it unique, that make it ownable, and that make it Lords of the Fallen?
Souls-likes are all about risk and reward. Do you take the easier path, or do you take the harder path, knowing that the latter is likely going to result in some better treasure? Do you take on that enemy who's definitely too difficult for your current stats and
I do love their designs, though. Like, their enemy designs are amazing. Kenshin says these two guys look like circus freaks. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of response you're going to get when you don't care about your presentation. No, the designs look so good in Lords of the Fallen. in the first one and the second one. Some of the enemies in the first one, the boss battles look really, really, really good. Really good. People keep asking me to raise the volume. Guys, I'm at maximum volume. I'm at max volume on all avenues. I cannot raise the volume anymore on this. If I do, it's just not gonna end well. We hit tier 2, so we're just gonna play the song really quick and get right back into the content. Here we go. Shout out to you guys. YouTube tried to keep us down. But we managed to hit tier 2 regardless. Have you guys noticed that we haven't had any issues since we stopped streaming Nintendo and started streaming Lords of the Fallen? Ironic, isn't it? 0 issues. Gee, I wonder why.
Run the risk of sacrificing all your hard-earned souls, but there's always that glimmer of hope you might succeed and earn yourself a super OP weapon. It's this concept of risk and reward and player autonomy that really gave birth to the concept of Umbral.
I remember vividly one of the first times I heard about.
So I really enjoy the fact that these guys know what they're talking about. And I can appreciate that they seem to know what they're talking about. But I cannot stop being annoyed by this guy fucking jingling. I cannot. This guy is fucking jingling, bro. He sounds like a fucking wind chime. It's annoying.
Lords of the Fallen 2023, and it was my dad, who's like a hardcore Souls-like player to this day, and he was like, "Hey son, there's this new Souls-like, have you heard of it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so. Is it the one that was on the Edge cover?" And he was like, yeah, it's got this two worlds thing. It's fucking mental, but it's pretty cool. And I think that pretty much captures my impression of it as an outsider.
We really wanted to delve deeper into this idea of player choice with our secondary realm, Umbral, the realm of the dead. So players could...
Okay, so that's the lantern. You see the lantern? You see the lantern? So that lantern is really what annoys me. And again, I can appreciate the whole dual world thing. You got Umbral, and then you got the world of the living and all that stuff. I get it. But for me, it just didn't click for me. I don't know if they just didn't do it right, or maybe it's just me. But it was annoying. I was like, I just want to play the game. And you're giving me this like, oh, I got to take the lantern and figure out how to traverse the world between the other world. And you're just like, I don't know. I really wish they got rid of the lantern mechanic and just gave you the world that they made. I feel like it would be a lot more interesting that way, but, you know, that's just me, I suppose.
Traverse to this realm of the dead at any point that they chose. But by doing so, they would sacrifice one of their 2 lives. There was no easy way back, and they knew that this was an even more hostile environment than the standard realm. That said, all the best treasures in Umbral, so you had to make that sacrifice in order to unearth these goodies.
Bro, somebody just called them Timu Jack Sparrow. I'm fucking dead, bro. I'm dead. Somebody called Timu Jack Sparrow. Now that is good. That is good. Peaches and cream, that was good. That was
Whether
good.
by design or not, co-op adventuring in Souls-likes has never been a strong point of the genre.
Just so you guys are aware, what they're talking about in this video is they're explaining some of the changes they made in the 2.0 patch. All right. Right now, they're talking about seamless co-op, which is something they didn't really have prior. They did it very similar to other Souls-like games. But now they have seamless co-op where you can play with somebody from beginning to end, and progression is now saved. But I'll let him explain it. So
usually you invite a second player in, you defeat a boss, and then that second player returns to their own world.
So I think what the team have done really smartly over the past year plus is kind of adjust the difficulty and the challenge, but that now empowers co-op to have more control over the experience. So when you've got 2 players in there, suddenly the odds are turned against the enemies sometimes, right? And it allows you to take your time, to be more strategic. And honestly, for me, it also relieves some of the pressure. I think in Souls-likes, the presence of another player can be a gift or a curse. You know, are they friend or foe? I think in Lords, more than any Souls-like, they're usually a friend, and you can adventure together. And honestly, one of the best parts is just being able to slow down, literally, and take in the environment. So I've had many times where I'm playing Lords and my co-op player, you know, has run off, taken on all the toughest enemies, and I'm just basking in the environment. I'm just enjoying Morn's death. For me, that's why Lords and co-op go so well together, because we've got...
David Elias says, this looks like a great Hypnotic and Smash JT being carried game. Oh my god, bro, he would totally be carried in a game like this. Can you imagine Smash JT in a Souls-like video game? Oh my god, dude, you guys should make him play a Souls game. Make him play. I would watch that. I would watch to see how long it takes for him to get out of the first level. Seriously,
this rich, detailed world, and it really breathes in co-op.
We really saw an opportunity to own this space with Lords of the Fallen.
Fucking jingling, man.
We launched with what we called seamless co-op, and at the time we felt confident that this was one of, if not the best, co-op experience in any Souls-like to date. There was some confusion with what seamless meant. I think with version 2.0, we've finally delivered on that promise, and we'll go into that later on in this video.
You don't say. Faster combat. So apparently they sped up the combat. Lords of the Fallen has notoriously had slower combat. Their movement was not quite as smooth also as like Dark Souls or Elden Ring. So it seems they have changed the movement and mastered it a little bit and made it a lot more, a lot quicker. But we'll see.
The third major element that we really wanted to...
Wait. Some dumb guy says Smash never beat the first boss and no rest for the wicked. What? Are you serious? God, man, we need to cancel this guy from gaming. I'm telling you, man. It's bad. That's bad.
Provide a fresh take on with Lords of the Fallen was the combat. Traditionally in the Souls-like genre, combat's always been very slow, purposeful, and deliberate. Usually it's you versus one other enemy, and every single swing of the blade is the difference between life and death. With Lords of the Fallen, we wanted to change that up so that actually you're facing off multiple enemies at any one point, whether that's a mob of 2, 3, 4, maybe more. By doing so, we wanted players...
Man, you know you are a bad gamer when somebody says that Nerdrotic is a better gamer than you. You might as well just quit. Just never play a game again. Just quit.
You have to approach the combat with a completely new strategy. Do you eliminate the enemies one by one, or do you go in all sword swinging? And to account for that increase in difficulty, the player character actually has several advantages. The player has access to faster evasions with both the choice of a dodge and a roll. They can seamlessly interweave both one-handed and two-handed attacks. Dual wielding is a very viable option in our game, and you can equip up to 5 spells at any one time. We felt that all of that combined would really balance the battlefield when facing multiple enemies, but it transpired at launch that, you know, maybe that balance wasn't quite right, and it needed further attention.
Mobs were a big deal for Lord.
What I'm getting from this is that they made the combat easier. That's what I'm getting from this, and I wouldn't be surprised. Because if you guys are not aware, the CEO of the studio that's behind this has been doing this whole, like, gamers, I'm for you kind of a thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made their game a little bit easier while trying to make it more mass appealing to try to draw in as many new players as possible and keep them. I would not be surprised. So, because that seems to be the ultimate strategy here, right? Because he changed his tune. he went from, you know, doing the typical DEI stuff. He tried to say, oh, they were forced to do that. And then he started shifting it over and saying, well, we're going to do what the gamers want. You gamers want male and female and not body type A and B. You got it. We're going to change it. And it's like, it just seems a little bit obvious. So from what I'm understanding from what he's saying, they definitely made the combat easier and made it easier for you to handle like multiple enemies, which again, that's not going to sit well with some of the more hardcore Souls-like fans, but, you know, we'll see.
To the Fallen, they were quite controversial at launch. I remember a lot of the community discussing them. I remember coming across them myself and thinking, you know, crikey, like it's a Souls-like, it's difficult, but these...
So the combat in Lords of the Fallen wasn't necessarily easier. It had really bad combat animations in my opinion. It was very it was very clunky. And because it was so clunky, it actually made it hard to control sometimes. So depending on the encounter you were in, it might be a little bit too ridiculous. But yeah, usually the combat is overall more easy, but that's because the mobs were more forgiving. They didn't really do as much damage as some of your, you know, sneakier Souls-like mobs. But now with them changing up the combat and making it more fast-paced, and, you know, changing the animations, making them react faster, I think that by just doing that alone, it's going to inherently make the game easier, because the game was designed around that original clunky combat, and now you're not going to have that clunky combat anymore. So now it's probably going to feel easier, even if they didn't necessarily make it easier, if that does, you know, if that makes sense.
These guys have really tried something aggressive and new here by throwing even more enemies at you than you would expect. Initially, I tried to play it like you would any other Souls-like, but then I realized I have to be a little bit more tactical, a little bit more strategic. Co-op helped as well, and I realized that everyone just needed to get good. I don't know what they were complaining about.
Lords of the Fallen launched in October 2023.
Told everybody get good.
Whilst
That's funny.
it was a relative commercial success, selling 1 million copies within 10 days, admittedly, it did release with a number of both technical and gameplay design issues. Part of this was down to our level of ambition. We were releasing a game with 2 coexisting, fully fledged game worlds that the player could cross between at any one point.
Yes.
And alongside that, we were one of the first...
That is one of the things that turned me off from this game. This right here is one of the things that turned me off from this game. So I'm glad he's actually bringing this up as one of the reasons. You know, but let's see what the other ones are.
Major releases on the new UE5 platform. But a major part of that was also down to the fact that we just didn't...
Somebody said, why is he wearing mascara? Bro, I don't know. Again, I don't want to start talking about the fucking makeup, because I'm going to have makeup enthusiasts in the chat be like, what do you say? We can't have makeup now? You fucking spick. I was like, all right, fuck it. You know, I'm just gonna focus on the video.
Test the game enough with the target audience, and that's absolutely one of the things that we will be doing very differently with the upcoming Lords of the Fallen.
All right, here we go. Version 2.0.
Unfortunately, a lot of games these days launch broken and they stay broken. Lords of the Fallen is the teams persevered throughout, right? Post-launch, they saw it as an opportunity to improve the game, to build on the feedback. They introduced...
Wait, are you saying that the... Wait. Are you saying that the game Lords of the Fallen released broken? Is that what we're... Like, are we admitting that now? Like, are we making that correlation? Because that's hilarious thing to admit to. You know what I mean?
All kinds. They introduced boss rush. They did mob density balancing, enhanced movement, and so much more across 50 updates. And that's a hell of a lot. You know, it's not a live service game, but the team decided to commit to the vision they had and to get it right in the end. So we've really saved the best for last with version 2.0.
I agree with that, Vorse. It did have a lot of issues at launch, and it's something that when people ask me about this game, I tell them all the time, like, it's definitely Euro janky, if that makes sense. You know, it's definitely Euro janky for sure. For sure. We have a pirate and a biker. Is this the YMCA team? Close.
we feel this is the definitive version.
It's
of
close.
Lords of the
It's
Fallen.
close.
There have been some of the most difficult updates to get right and implement, and that's why it's taken so long, but it's finally here.
I'm so sad that only Scooby Pup caught my reference of the Oyster Bar. Only Scooby Pup was the one that caught the reference of the Oyster Bar. Everybody else, it just went over their head. I didn't see anybody else catch the reference. Makes me sad. Fucking getting old, man.
And it's
Sucks.
genuinely the best place to start with Lords of the Fallen if you're new.
Oh, this is big. This is big right here. Shared progression co-op. Let's see this.
First up, full shared progression co-op. So as mentioned, Lords of the Fallen launched with what we, at the time, coined seamless co-op. However, this did cause confusion at release, with many players thinking that when journeying together in online co-op, they would both save all the progress. This was very hard to achieve, and to make up for that disappointment, we were absolutely dedicated.
Chaotic Holy says we did catch it. We're just too old and depressed. Oh, man. That is pretty old and depressing, isn't it? Sucks.
One day we would release exactly that, full shared progression co-op. But it's a lot more complicated than perhaps it initially sounds.
Part of the complication with co-op comes
It's all right.
from
We'll be
a
old and
variety of
depressed together.
scenarios. One player may be further advanced in a story, one player may be further behind, they may be similar. Trying to matchmake those two players together and make sure that that experience is unified, consistent, coherent is a challenge.
On top of that, usually when playing an online co-op, you're matched with people in the same region as you to ensure a more stable connection. However, we realized that with the full shared progression co-op, many players would want to be adventuring with friends, and that those friends could be anywhere in the world. So we had to ensure when releasing this new mode that we were able to offer a very stable connection between two players wherever they were in the world. Throw cross-play connectivity into the mix as well, and you can imagine the cocktail of complexity that ensues.
Clearly, we are gluttons for punishment at CI Games. We decided to make co-op even more complicated for ourselves and introduce a whole new free Friends Pass to Lords of the Fallen version 2.0.
All right, so this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. This is when it starts to, like, you start to win me over as a consumer, right? Where you're updating the game. First off, you're not charging for it. You're completely updating the game, version 2.0, whatever. And now apparently they're offering a Friends Pass. So they're taking a ticket out of Hazelight. You know, Split Fiction and all that. They're taking a ticket out of them, and they're offering a Friends Pass.
Okay, so the way it works is absolutely anyone can go and download the free Friends Pass version of Lords of the Fallen right now on a platform of choice. You can play the tutorial until you're black and blue in the face, and then upon completion, buddy up with a friend who owns the game and goes through the entire campaign together.
The Free Friends Pass is really our way to give back and thank the community for their ongoing trust and support throughout this process. We want as many players as possible to experience this new version of Lords of the Fallen, which is a very different game to the one that launched back in October 23.
So that means, in theory, I can give Smash JT a Friends Pass, and we can play this game co-op together. God, the idea of that scares me. The idea of that scares me. I don't even want to. I don't think I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole, to be honest with you. I really don't, because I would fucking lose my shit, probably. I would lose my shit.
And appreciate all the hard work our team has done to meet the original vision of this title.
Again, I find it interesting that they're sitting there and admitting that they didn't release the game as they originally designed it for it to be released. I find that to be very interesting. You don't really hear many people admit that their game was broken at release. So, interesting. Maybe it comes with free jingle.
with version 2.0, we've really given the controls, the movement, the combat an overhaul.
You see what I'm saying? This reaction right here, look at this reaction. Unknown George says, I just joined this stream, and what the fuck is even that? Immediately, all these people look like people I go out of my way to avoid. This is the problem when your first impression to people is something that is of the extreme side. This is why I always advocate for professionalism in your presentation. If you want to dress the way you want to dress, perfectly fine. But then people are going to have a natural reaction to it. That's all I was trying to say earlier. But, you know, I don't know, man. It just is what it is, man.
Made it feel more responsive.
By the way, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for joining the stream.
That means you can no longer blame the game for when you're shit. We've kind of added a jump button as well. It sounds like an obvious, simple thing, but when you think back to when we launched...
Oh, that's good. Did you hear that? They added a jump button. They added a dedicated jump button. That's huge.
Likes really didn't have jump buttons, and then obviously
that's huge.
Comes along and changes the rule book. So we introduced a jump to make it more...
I know a lot of you guys are probably like, jump button, why is that such a big deal? That is a huge deal. That is a huge deal in the Souls-like game. A dedicated jump button. That's huge.
Agile, tactile, responsive. And yeah, we hope you like what we've done with it.
When Lords of the Fallen was originally in development, jump buttons didn't traditionally exist in Souls-likes. So both the game and the world was designed with that in mind. We didn't need to worry about players being able to jump on the spot and therefore clamber up cliff faces and God knows what else and enter areas that they shouldn't, that would potentially break the game. But then Elden Ring came along, completely rewrote the rulebook, introduced a jump, and all of a sudden it was difficult to imagine a world before a dedicated jump button existed.
Exactly.
It was too late to change Lords of the Fallen at this point, so the game launched with a traditional jump mechanic. However, this now felt counterintuitive to everyone, pretty much, who had played Elden Ring. So we've worked really hard since then, trying to add a dedicated jump button to Lords of the Fallen.
Everybody's reaction to this guy is always the same. What's wrong with the Jack Sparrow looking motherfucker? You see what I'm saying? You see? Oh man, I feel vindicated. I feel vindicated that it's not just me. I was feeling crazy for like 10 seconds, but I feel vindicated now.
God knows it needs one, especially with areas like Pilgrim's Perch. That would make platforming in those areas much easier, but at the same time wouldn't break a game that wasn't originally designed to have this dedicated jump button mechanic. Lords of the Fallen version 2.0 also arrives with a fully revamped tutorial. We knew that new player onboarding was one of the pain points with the game, and I think that's because we throw so much information at new players right from the start. Lords of the Fallen introduces a suite of new rules to the genre, from the two-world mechanic to the Umbral lamp, and we sort of just bombarded the player with all this information within the first 20 minutes. To add insult to injury, not only did we bombard the player with all this information, but it was delivered in these very large, intimidating blocks of text that just begged to be skipped through. So we found that many players got to the end of the tutorial and actually didn't know about a bunch of different mechanics, from being able to kick enemies off ledges to the soul flame mechanic, which is provides players with a huge advantage in combat. The team's done an amazing job taking all of that information and re-delivering it to the player in new, digestible, and much more friendly chunks. I think new players are going to be much better prepared for the world of Mornstead, and we really look forward to inviting a new wave of players in.
Unknown George says, anybody that jingles every time they move are people you should avoid. That's great.
So, two of the things I'm most excited about with version 2.0 is the combat overhaul and the lamp navigation system. So for combat,
please tell me about the lamp. Please tell me about the lamp.
Out of a paper bag. but the new combat means I'm precise, I'm powerful, and I'm able to get through all the mobs.
Please tell me about the lamp.
With the revamped lamp navigation system, I can finally find my way out of the Forsaken Fen. In Souls-likes, it's that delicate balance of being excitedly, intentionally lost and having a next place or vestige to find. With the new lamp navigation system, we feel like it creates that nice optional balance, right? You can decide, okay, I'm going to figure out where I'm supposed to go next, or you can just get lost in our world and find what's around the next corner.
If they made the lamp system a little bit better, then I will be very happy.
2.0 really is the best the game's ever
because
been.
the lamp system
it's
sucked.
Largely thanks to you, our community, for providing that ongoing support and feedback. So it makes sense that if we've been able to improve this game as much as we have by listening to our audience, that we should do so again for the upcoming game in the franchise. But only we're going to do so much earlier this time round.
So it's no secret that we're hard at work on our next Lords of the Fallen game. We're rocking and rolling in development. It's going really well. We're in the full swing. We think we're going to give the competition a bloody nose and a broken jaw this time. We think we've got something special on our hands. And it's thanks to all the hard work and feedback.
Okay, I'm gonna dispel this. I'm gonna dispel this bullshit right here. So as much as I like this game, and as much as I like what they did with it and what they're continuing to do with it, they're not gonna punch anybody in the nose. They're not gonna break anybody's jaw. They're not gonna do anything. You want to know why? You want to know why? Because their next video game is gonna be an Epic Games exclusive. Yes, I'm not kidding. Their next game is not going to release on Steam, and it's going to be an Epic Games exclusive. So they're not punching anybody in the jaw. They're going to get absolutely felted by being an Epic Games exclusive release. Just letting you guys know that. So you want to know why they're an Epic Games exclusive release? Is because Epic Games has actually invested money into this studio to develop the next Lords of the Fallen game. How much? I'm not sure. But it was sizable enough for them to get an exclusive contract with Epic Games. So yeah, just throwing that out there for people that, you know, are curious. Now, it has nothing to do with this game. You can play this game, enjoy this game. I think this game is pretty good. It seems it's getting better. But for the next game, Epic Games exclusive. And then the CEO tried to go around and tried to come up with all this bullshit excuses as to why they did that. And everybody's looking at him like, are you retarded? You just spent this entire, 6 months? You spent the last 6 months trying to pretend like you're the Yorch Torch of fucking CEOs. You're like gamers, comma. What would you like to see in our game? And then, you did that for 6 months. And then after 6 months of supposedly doing what gamers wanted, you are now going to release your next game on a fucking format that gamers don't want. We've already proven that the majority of gamers will not, on the PC platform, buy something that's exclusive on Epic Games. Most people would wait a year, 2 years, however long they have to, for them to buy it on Steam. But I think what this is that Epic Games must have invested a good enough amount of money for this studio to feel safe about a potential lack of sales by not releasing on Steam. That's my opinion. I don't have any proof of that, but again, that's my opinion. So, but this game is not going to pull nowhere near the numbers that they were pulling before by being on Epic Games. So that's just how it's going to go. I know that's a fact because, again, we've seen all these games that have released Epic exclusive and then they're forced to release on Steam later down the line. And by the time they do, it's too late. Your game's irrelevant. Nobody cares. So that's just what it is. But yes, Epic Games is still doing that. A lot of people think Epic Games has stopped with the exclusivity nonsense. They haven't. They haven't at all. So anyway, this is basically the gist. This is the gist of this video. I'm going to re-download this game and I'm going to check it out, and I may or may not, depending on how masochistic I'm feeling, I may give a friend's pass to Smash JT, and we'll see if he can actually hang in a Dark Souls-like game.